Hey, welcome back. So I'm genuinely curious, before you leave, what is the reason that you clicked on this video? Because I'm surprised anyone is clicking at all. I have done absolutely zero pushing and work. I have this garbage-free Canva thumbnail. What are you doing here? Why did you come? Let me know in the comments below, and give me a like if you want. I'm just doing prep for some other stuff, and I'm probably not going to be putting out any real content for a while. But I'm a rabbi that is making content to collaborate between my knowledge of spirituality and mysticism and Jewy stuff, and video games, which is one of my lifelong loves, and probably one of yours if you're here. So I want to be able to basically bridge between the kinds of lessons that we learn in video games and the kinds of valuable life skills that we need in order to be successful in our life, to be our best selves. And so, you know, for example, what's the narrative device of this guy, our broken vessel friend? You know, there's a narrative lesson that we can learn, I'm guessing, from or at least I'm positive. Oops. I'm asserting that there's something that can be learned from all this video game stuff. Oops. Oops again! No! Anyway, I'm asserting that there's some sort of lesson to be learned. I was thinking about this before because I knew that I died to the broken vessel over and over again. And I think that the point that we're supposed to get from the way that he looks is that we too, as this knight character, are also a broken vessel. And it reminded me of the story from Hollow Knight, which is essentially, I mean not from Hollow Knight, from Dark Souls, which is essentially, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up, keep going, keep going, keep going. And this kind of a playthrough is not going to be nearly as entertaining as somebody who's a experienced player. You know, let's play, you know, blah, 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 blah. They've already beaten the boss, they've already figured out the strategy, you're going to watch it and explore the story in a much more direct, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, point being that in a lot of ways, that kind of experience is going to be much more accessible, I guess, because it doesn't have any of the mistake making that this one has. You're watching me stumble and fumble and fall and learn and try and figure out what the heck is going on in a boss that I really don't know anything about, in a game environment that I'm exploring and learning for the first time. And because I'm learning it for the first time, oops. I have to make all these mistakes, which is like a normal life thing, right? We make all these mistakes in life. But we often don't show those things to the public, so you get to see all my Hollow Knight mistakes with me, and so with that, why do you want to watch? Why do you care? I don't understand. Oops. Oh, I did it! That was really cool! So the premise that I was saying about Dark Souls is that this guy, broken vessel, did he give up? Did something happen? I know that this orangey stuff has something to do with Radiance, because I did play this game with a friend before. And Radiance, the last boss, and something to do with why this kingdom is a problem, but I don't remember any of the plot or story. It was years and years and years ago, and I only played through it with my friend because I was the platformer guy. He came into gaming with N64 era, and I was the SNES. Actually, I started with an NES when SNES came out. Wow, I'm so old. The Game Boy Advance is still the new one for me. Anyway, But the lesson of tenacity is so important in life. And if we imagine that our life is like a game, we just have to keep going through it over and over and over again. And the idea of making mistakes and where all the, monarch wings. Double jump! Yes, this is what I wanted. When we go through life and make mistakes, but it's not really mistakes the same way that when I was dying to the broken vessel, it's not really mistakes. It's just part of the process of growth and learning. And so that whole thing of like, well, successful people make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes in the same way that, I love this, the same way that I made a ton of mistakes here. And so the framing of this problem of mistakes, it's not so much about the learning, it's not so much of, it's about how do I frame the process as a growth and development process as opposed to a mistakes and successes, because it's all success as long as I've learned something. Let's go this way. Anyway, so if you've made it to the end of my rant, you've seen me beat Broken Vessel. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the idea, or if you like the sound of my voice. I know that my mother says that she does, but I don't know that I believe her all the time. Yeah. Okay. Orange blobs. This is to do? Do I have to beat this guy? Am I gonna go back to that bench? Oh, I go back to here. So, and I didn't break. So I am proposing that this is not where I am supposed to be now. Oh, what's over to the right? I mean left, that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna propose. Okay, down. I wanna go change my pin so I become this. I will propose that this is an alternative boss because it has something to do with the dream nail and I didn't have a normal death. That's just a guess because I played a lot of video games. I don't remember at all. And this is another advantage to having played a lot of video games. I talked about privilege once a while ago, an idea of privilege that we completely miss, that I would consider that I have a tremendous amount of privilege relative to the game because I have all this experience. And I think that we often take for granted the concept of privilege because we don't internally know what it means. We're only familiar, we only know the world as much as our own experiences allow us to see it. And so if someone doesn't know something, we don't know what it feels like to exist in this situation and not know something, unless it's something that we've not known, I think, relatively close to the current situation. So when people talk about privilege in terms of socioeconomic status and different kinds of cultural backgrounds, it's a fascinating concept because I think most of the conversations we have miss the point. And it's not to say that someone should or shouldn't be favored, but it's that if somebody's playing Hollow Knight and they haven't had, this is my example, so bear with me. If somebody's playing Hollow Knight and they haven't had, thousands of hours of platforming, whoa, that was weird, experience, what are the expectations that are realistic of them? And if success is being measured a certain way, how can we better equip these people? Oh, that should have stuck. How can we better equip these people that have not played Hollow Knight before, there we go, to succeed? What's the way to do that? I don't have an answer. That was cool. Okay. So if I go... Nope. Oh, that was crazy. Okay, wait a second. If I double jump, I can't do it again. I can't double air dash. So what do I need to do? Nope. Nope. This is really just for one of those bugs, is it? Okay, so here. Does it want me to... No, that's never gonna work. Anyway, so I think that the idea of privilege is pretty cool and explicit in that languaging, because it shows how, like, tangibly you can imagine what it's like gaming for a non-gamer. The idea of, like, these controls are eating me alive today. You know what it's like. Remember when you first watch someone play Mario and they jump like this, right? They don't understand that you don't have to do that. The person whose brain is processing all these extra things. So somebody that has a certain kind of, oh, I can do it that way. Okay. You know, financial management background. Like, I benefited tremendously from the fact that my grandparents were Holocaust survivors and had to learn certain kinds of things to survive. Had community support that a lot of people straight up do not have. People don't have... See, I'm moving in the ball because my brain's broken. A lot of people don't have community support. And that is something that if you don't have community support, you do not know what that means to not have community support. So how do we have a conversation about it? Because you can't imagine what it's like to not have community support. Except that we actually do know what it feels like to not have community support. I'm just thinking of this off the cuff right now. Imagine playing an MMORPG, having never played an MMORPG ever before, and you don't have anybody to, never mind to pull you. No, it's not pull. What's the language? What do we call that? To tank free? No. Someone help me. Help me. I hope that someone stayed long enough to help me remember this. But doesn't have the ability to have somebody to help them. Doesn't have anybody to ask. Right? Okay, they have the internet. Great. Which is actually great. But they don't necessarily have. They don't know the language of what to look for. So that one is actually a really interesting one. Of the gathering swarm. Here, let's get money. Then I have one more spot. One of my really good friends is a computer scientist, and what he said is that this is an interesting one, but I don't need this. What he said is that a lot of times draw a morsel, do damage. What he said that a lot of times, like, as you get more advanced in coding, again, friend, oh, that was the boss over there, and it just filled in. That's what was going on. As one gets more advanced in coding and computer programming, software development, you write less and less code yourself, and you spend more and more time just pulling other people's code off the internet. And in order to do that, you need to have a couple different things. You have to have code literacy. You need to know how the code. You have to know how the code works. We're not saying, or he's not saying. At least this is my, intelligent layperson perspective. He's not saying you don't need to know how the code works, but he is saying that you need to know how to search for it and compile it. So the process of growth changes. Okay, that's another glowy guy. Okay. Fast travel. $300. Okay. There's something underneath the palace. Right, so this is the fast travel. Yeah, so you need to know what to look for. You need to know what to search for. And if you don't know what to search for, you have a tremendous deficit in comparison to other people. And so that in and of itself, now, who's a real good source? I don't want to fight something. Actually, I just saved. Okay, that's not working. place that I can ground pound? See, like, I know to look for ground pounding because I've played a Metroidvania before. So same thing. Where are the opportunities? I know where to look for them because I have a certain amount of background experience, whereas somebody else who doesn't have that experience wouldn't be able to do it. Even though I'm an absolute beginner, my learning curve is going to be steeper, as in I will grow faster in the context of the game because I'm able to apply my previous knowledge. So somebody that has, you know, a certain level of fitness and athleticism, same thing. They're going to transfer that skill set into another environment. So I'm able to do that in the context of video games, and then passing it on with spiritual stuff, just because I've invested the time. Yeah. So where do you invest your time in? What do you care about? And why are you watching my video? If you've made it this far, I hope that you've commented and subscribed and hit the bell, because that's what I'm supposed to say, right? Hit the bell. But why are you watching this video? Because if you want to watch an interesting Hollow Knight video, this is probably not the one. There's a lot of better players. Okay, I need a pass. I need 300 geo in order to get to the next place. Yeah, so that was my thought about the broken vessel. That we're all broken vessels for the story of our lives, and we're doing the best we can to put our stories together, and we gotta just not quit. Don't quit. Also, don't measure yourself against other people's standards, right? Because the point of the game, one of the things that video games do that's amazing is it forces you into one character's story, right? And I don't feel like I need to be somebody else. I don't feel like I need to compare myself against somebody else. I'm just me, whoever my in-game character is. I'm not trying to be the king. I'm not trying to compete with a billionaire. I have a handful of game mechanics that I can interact with. I explicitly know what those game mechanics are, because in a well-designed game, we're going to get to know what those things are. And I think life's the same. We know what the tools and everything that we're... Oh, that's cool. It helped me. We know what we're given and what we're supposed to be working with, but we get distracted. And I think that getting distracted is one of the real-life elements. We try and be someone we're not. We do the spend money we don't have to buy things we don't care about, we don't like, or something to impress people that we don't care about. Is it that one? Something like that? I feel like there's a thing over here, and I have enough light to try it. Oh, yeah! See? I wouldn't have known to look for that had I not been a super-duper dork. So thank you. Thank you. I wear the badge proudly. Actually, I didn't until relatively recently. Inside the community that I belong to, it's not always looked upon... Actually, no, I'm just going to collect the money and get the fast travel. It's not always looked upon with any kind of respect to do things like this. And by not always, I mean it's not. And something that I've been tremendously conflicted about is how I will expose or not expose my kids. Because video games are an incredibly important part of who I am. God, that's so cool. This is just more money. Awesome. And without them, I wouldn't have a huge portion of the system that I use for describing the mystic world. Because I use video games as the basis of the metaphor, like as a single metaphor. Because basically everything fits into it. And that ultimately is the purpose of me making this channel, is I want to be able to explore my experience with the universe and find other people that are interested in talking about it and share their experiences. We can see where we're on the same page. And basically, I think that we spend a lot of time in our modern society talking past each other about really important subjects because we get attached to certain kinds of words. I think incorrectly, we get attached to these words God is, I started making a video about that as I'm learning to use all these tools. But like, God is the worst word because in English doesn't really mean anything. And so many different wisdom traditions use the word, or get translated rather into the English word God, but that's not what they're talking about. They'll have multiple words to describe it. So I know Hebrew best, and Hebrew uses at least 3 main ones. But like, come on, man, we gotta allow for a little bit more sophistication here, but we don't. Okay, so I'm gonna have to kill a lot of these guys if it's just 2x2s. I don't like that. It's gonna take an eternity. Is there something else that I can do while I'm over here? Down and to the right. Perfect. Ba-dum-bum. Okay, so I'm curious about. I got really into Sadhguru recently because he's well spoken and explains himself exquisitely, and I feel in a relatable way. Our pure vessel has ascended beyond lines only the refuse and regret of its creation. We shall enter that place no longer. Okay, so obviously this is a place that I'm supposed to go. Okay. Anyway, so I'm interested in the ideas that Sadhguru talks about and his viewpoint on them, because they're very, very similar to my experience to Jewish ideas, and there are a couple of important factors, but how can we together as a human community better equip ourselves to communicate with each other about these complex issues, because we just get in these fights. Like the most interesting one recently for me was my wife bought me the Communist Manifesto, because I've been talking about it a lot, and I'm so interested in, so I grew up in Canada, and in Canada, now I'm living in the United States, and in Canada compared to the United States is like a socialist utopia, except that it's not socialist at all. And the most right-leaning politician in Canada is still meaningfully more objectively left than the most left American politicians. So like Bernie Sanders kind of level is like standard fare right-wing Canadian politician. And most people don't get that because the way that all of our branding goes is like our political branding discussions are so just terrible. I don't know what other word to use. Disgustingly so. And so so my wife bought me the Communist Manifesto because I wanted to see what it was, and it was like, listen, I'm not going to pretend that I understand this. People write PhDs about this, but I also know that whatever it is that they're discussing in this book is not what our political discourse is about. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. So the war of the working class, we don't even know what the working class is in our modern, people will probably argue with me, but the way that they define the working class is super different than the way that our working class discussions go, if for no other reason that people have the opportunity to buy stock and investments today that didn't exist before. So my grandfather, that was a Holocaust survivor, he never made more than minimum wage. Again, different circumstances and different world, and not more than minimum wage, rather. He never made more in his entire career than $25 an hour, which in the end of his life, because he passed away at 91 year was it? I'm embarrassed myself. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on it for too long. But he bought with his extra money, and he scrupulously saved stocks in investments that were good companies that paid dividends. And that's how my grandmother, who's 102 years old now, God bless her, she's amazing. That's how she survives. That's how she pays for herself. And so she is effectively a business owner. Not just effectively. She's as much of a business owner as any of the other people who own shares in those businesses. It just takes time, And so, my grandfather had to make certain kinds of sacrifices in order to establish himself as a business owner in that way. You know, and that's not necessarily accessible for everyone. Okay, fine. But, oh, I'm almost enough money. That's great. Okay, so that's not necessarily accessible for everyone, but anyone, what am I trying to say? The point that I'm making is that anyone, that we're not living in, you know, the the Tsarist Russia universe where, you know, there's a king and the king or the lords and the lords own the land, and nobody has the capacity to own production capacity, which was super a real thing. Okay, I'm scared. I don't want to have to fight this. Okay. Okay. Now I have enough money. Great. So people can buy, and it just takes time, and like the speed that it takes is incomparably faster than what it ever used to be. And again, you know, an issue that we don't look at in modern society when we critique what we have, that, you know, I can buy stock in, I'm not going to say any companies off the top. Actually, you know what? I'll say that because it's famous from Warren Buffett. You know, Warren Buffett talked about buying Coca-Cola. I can be an owner of Coca-Cola. Everybody knows what Coca-Cola is. I can be as much of an owner of Coca-Cola as anybody else who is a common shareholder of Coca-Cola, which includes, to my knowledge, Warren Buffett, because I don't think he has preferred voting shares, although he might. But I don't want to own voting shares. I want the passive income that comes from my investments, which is what I can get. I don't have to think about it. I just need to be, you know, intelligent about the companies that I select, like any other business owner would be, and therefore I become, I'm gonna go this way. I become the capitalist. But like, anyone can do that. There's no limitations here. So what stands in our way? You know, well, the latest iPhone. Well, I could also be an owner in Apple stock. You know, what's stopping you? Apple's the largest holding of the S&P 500. Buy S&P 500 if you want a good distribution. Don't buy individual stocks unless you know what you're doing. I'm starting to know what I'm doing, but I still am. Anyway, that's a conversation for another time. But you can be a business owner. So what is this revolution, workers' revolution, in the way that we were discussing it before? Everyone has this capacity. Okay, so there's an issue for, say, minimum wage workers and how much money should be the minimum wage and living wage and that kind of stuff. That's a really important conversation that I am not qualified to speak about. But what I can say is that we are not living in the society that the Communist Manifesto was speaking about. Let's go to Dirtmouth. We're not living in that society. We are in something else. And so we need to adjust our conversation to take that into account, which is fine. And I'm not there's no position that I've made on any politician or any political position. All I'm saying is that the conversation that we're having is not the conversation that the Communist Manifesto is having explicitly, maybe implicitly. And that, you know, do we as a society have the capacity to explore that discourse properly? Oh, I gotta go. I'm getting knocked on. Thank you. 1 second. All right, we're back. Apologies, not apologies. That was an important child-related. So now I get to practice putting my editing skills to test, and I'm gonna squish the 2 videos together. So this will be uploaded as 1 video, even though it was filmed as 2, which you will be able to tell by the fact that I got up and stopped and said goodbye and then came back. All right, so we have double jump, and we have more pins. Okay, whatever. Let's see where we can go now that we have double jump. And we also have the light. So we could go, okay, that's a black thing. We could go to that red thing. We should just go everywhere now that we have double jump. The whole world is our oyster. Everything has changed. Also, the areas that I want to go are far away from the fast travels. That's annoying. Okay, so what we're still supposed to do is go towards these dudes. That guy's really far over there. Mantis Village goes in this direction. This red thing goes in that direction. Let's go to the red thing. I want to see what's over there. Okay, so green path, fast travel. Also need to find dream nail things because I need to get the 100 of those doohickeys, hickermadooies. I gotta get that, let the completionist go, because if I get too attached to wanting to find everything, I'm not gonna be able to do the main story. There's a life lesson for you. Don't get too attached. Oh, that wasn't even a lot. But you get more powerful and things become easier. Are they easier because you're more powerful? Or are they easier because you are more proficient? Don't know. Stand down. It might also be meaningfully easier because I put the switch closer. So there might be less lag. Which would be an amazing solution, if that is true. Is there anything else in this room? Oh no. Okay. The next ability that I want I've been speaking out to the universe is the black dash thing. Hardly even using the double jump. I talked so much about it. I'm just used to playing a certain way. Can I go up here? Oh, cool. Same. So here, now I can backtrack this way. I don't have to do the puzzle. Amazing. That's annoying. Okay, so this was not a dark thingy. It's something else. Hang on a second. So I don't think that I can... They're not going to let me do that. They're too smart. Who's they? We have this discussion already? They is the devs, silly. The devs are conscious, and they're trying to facilitate a certain kind of game experience so that we enjoy ourselves. That's what it's about. It's about co-creating the experience of the world, right? It's a cultivated experience that needs to feel real, or else it's not satisfying. Don't take it so seriously, but at the same time, take it really seriously. That's all that we got. Alright, so that was a little disappointing. So we've come back with nothing. What's in Fog Canyon? Oh, I still don't have a map for it. Be a little bit more responsible. That would also imply that I don't have the fast travel, which means that it's worth it to go. Let's go! Okay, so the thing that was the problem required, it was here. Oh, there's a double jump opportunity here. Okay, that doesn't help me. And I was not able to do that dash, and I'm not going to try the skip again.
Geo!
We'll just keep going.
Geo, Kalala.
This way, if I keep doing this and putting money aside, it's not so hard to get 1,000 Geo. But if I keep putting money aside, then when I have a big expenditure that's worth taking the time to go to, I'll be able to do it. Now that we're at the fast travel, where can we go? Now we can go to the City of Tears one. How did I get down to the ancient basin? Oh, I don't have a map from between over here, that whole inner area. Okay, so what's faster? I think the King Station fast travel is going to be the fastest way. Come, my noble steed. Oh yeah, here. This is a thing. Frustrating plinking problem because I'm pushing down. You heard it. You heard it. Do I get soul from doing this? The timing needs to be very precise. Very precise. There's the thing. That looks like I do get watches me fail over and over and over again. What? There's a drop frame thing. Really? Really? Okay. Yeah, of course. And then the Tower of Nerve. Tower. The love tonight. Love is where we are. Na 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 na. Okay, wait. Okay. Is there like a battery issue here? stop as soon as I get to... There's a thing down there. This is another dark place. Another dark place. Royal Waterways. That I can go to. What I'm thinking is maybe I will sell all of the... Oh. I don't even have to worry about that. I'm gonna pass it. Just have more money in reserve. Oh! I marked all my doors wrong. Okay. I had thought that I had used red. Okay, well, so I guess then it's just to the Royal Waterways. And now I have a place to go. So I'm gonna go to the top of the Royal Waterways, the bottom, the top, the side, to the Royal Waterways. And then we will stop. I hope that you had a nice time. I wonder if anyone actually stayed until the end. That hasn't happened yet, so we shall see. But it was a pleasure if you did. Thank you. Like and subscribe if you have an interest, and share with your friends if you think they would have an interest. And let's go to the entrance again so I don't get lost. Okay. Entrance to the Royal Waterways. Please and thank you. Have a wonderful day.